So when you hear the word pollution, what pops into your head? Probably, giant overflowing landfills or maybe smokestacks pumping out dark clouds. But what if I told you the real problem isn't the garbage itself? What if it's the entire system we've built? We're going to explore how our take, make, waste way of life is creating a planetary crisis, and how a complete system reset is probably the only way out.
This right here, this is the core idea for everything we're about to talk about. It kind of flips the script, doesn't it? It suggests that what we call waste isn't actually worthless. It's more a failure of our own imagination and our design. It's a resource we just haven't figured out how to use yet. Keep this idea in your back pocket because it's key to understanding the challenge ahead. All right, so before we can even start talking about solutions, we have to get a real handle on the sheer scale of our impact. The numbers, I'll be honest, are pretty staggering, but looking them in the eye is the first step toward making any kind of meaningful change.
1.5. So what on earth does that mean? Well, that's our current ecological footprint. Right now, humanity is using up the planet's services, things like clean water, forests, fertile land, 1.5 times faster than the Earth can actually renew them. We are, quite literally, living on planetary credit.
And this concept of overshoot, it's not just some abstract scientific term. It has very real, very tangible consequences. It's the reason we're seeing our land, our water, and our air struggling under this immense pressure. This isn't some far-off problem for the future. It is happening right now, all over the globe.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's break it down, kind of like a play in 3 acts. We have a crisis unfolding on our land, in our water, and in our air. Let's start with the ground right beneath our feet.
Act 1. Our land. We live in a culture of disposability, don't we? It's all about convenience. And our land is bearing the scars of this out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality, where everything from plastic wrappers to old phones just gets buried, leaking all sorts of nasty stuff into the soil.
And check out this number, 48 million tons. This tells such a crazy story about rapid growth. Back in 1947, cities in India generated about 6 million tons of solid waste. By 1997, that number had absolutely exploded to 48 million tons. This is a direct reflection of a huge boom in consumption and population, with our waste systems just struggling to keep up.
All right, moving on to Act 2, our water. It's the lifeblood of our planet, but we're treating it like a drain. From untreated sewage to industrial chemicals, we're turning this precious resource into a toxic flow, which threatens both our health and entire ecosystems.
This chart? Wow. It just lays the crisis out there, plain and simple. Over 70% of India's surface water is polluted. Just think about that for a second. The vast majority of the water flowing in its rivers and lakes is contaminated, affecting millions of people who depend on it for drinking, for farming, for their daily lives.
And that brings us to the final act of this crisis. It's about something that's mostly invisible but is absolutely critical: our atmosphere. The very air we breathe and the protective layers that shield us from the sun are being changed by what we do, and the consequences are on a global scale.
This timeline tells a really dramatic story. You can literally see the ozone hole's explosive growth, peaking back in 2006. This was a direct result of industrial chemicals called CFCs, which just goes to show how quickly our actions can damage entire planetary systems.
So, we've seen the symptoms: polluted land, toxic water, a damaged atmosphere. But what's the underlying disease? In this next section, we're going to make the case that all of these crises stem from a single, fundamental flaw in the design of our modern world.
This is the question, isn't it? The one at the heart of the entire environmental movement. Is it just greed, overpopulation, technology? Well, as we're about to see, the answer isn't so much about a single villain, but more about a broken system that all of us participate in.
So this is the crucial point, this contrast. We're currently living in a linear system. We take resources from the earth, we make products, we use them, and then we throw them away. It's a one-way ticket to the landfill. The alternative is a circular or closed-loop system. In that model, the waste from one process becomes the resource for another. Just like in nature, nothing is wasted.
This classic economic idea explains exactly why our linear system is so destructive. It's called the tragedy of the commons. Think of the atmosphere as a shared resource, the commons. A factory might save money by not filtering its smoke, right? That's a private benefit. But the cost, the dirty air, is shared by everyone. It's socialized. And when everyone acts that way, the shared resource gets destroyed. It's a systemic trap.
Okay, I know, that was a lot of doom and gloom, but the story doesn't end there. Recognizing the problem is the absolute first step to fixing it. So let's totally shift gears and look at the path forward, a path built on smart design, global cooperation, and a whole new way of thinking.
Hey, remember that scary ozone hole? Well, the reason that timeline we looked at earlier showed a slight recovery after 2006 is because of this, the Montreal Protocol. This is proof, real-world proof, that when the world comes together with a clear goal, in this case, phasing out those ozone-killing chemicals, we can actually solve massive environmental crises. It's a powerful story of hope.
A huge part of the solution is just being smarter from the very beginning. That's where something called the life cycle assessment, or LCA, comes in. Instead of just thinking about a plastic bottle when it's thrown away, an LCA analyzes its entire journey: the oil drilled to make it, the energy used in the factory, the fuel for shipping, and its final fate. It's about designing waste out from day one.
Now, systemic change feels huge. I get it. But it's built on individual actions. These are all practical steps we can take in our own lives. And it's not about one person doing everything perfectly. It's about millions of us making better choices, creating a collective demand for a more sustainable world. And this really brings us to our final thought. It's so easy to point fingers at corporations, at governments, at other people. But sustainability starts with acknowledging our own role in the system. The question isn't just, can we become part of the solution, but will we? That's the choice that every single one of us has to make.